It is January 23rd, 2023. This is RealityStretch. Happy Monday! Aren't we excited to be here? This is great. So, I've been trying to configure OBS Studio, and I have monitor turned on right now, which means I can hear myself in my headphones, and it's probably going to cause me to talk slowly, and it's going to be very annoying because there's a little bit of an offset. So let's see if I can look past this, or if it's just going to be enough to derail this entire thing. The sum result of that is I'm just going to speak more slowly. The original intent was to have like an audio mixer, basically to be able to monitor the levels of my different audio sources. Anyway, I might just turn off the monitor though real quick because it's getting really annoying. I'll play with that later. One second here. Alright, I turned off the monitor. That's better. Isn't that nice? Alright, so last weekend, not this past Saturday, Sunday, Friday, whatever, but the weekend before, I just knocked out my final school assignments for the course that I was taking. The capstone to management information systems and business analytics. Managed to barely squeeze out a B minus, so I'm gonna say that's a win, considering everything that I had going on. But my instructor, my professor, doctor, whatever his name was great to work with, and it was just a real pleasure all around. But that weekend kind of just burned me out, and I've just been coasting since, and it's been fun. So anyway, but on the Reality Stretch Reads podcast, I'm still reading Wallace Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich, which is a very short book, so I should be able to finish with it in 1 or 2 sessions. But since I'm recording myself reading it and uploading it to the podcast, it takes me a little bit longer because my recording isn't great. I've got to go in and edit and change some things and then just simply upload it. So it takes a bit. But The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles is a great book. Great read. And he mentions in the beginning of the book 2 things. He says, you would do well to look into these 2 things. One of them is something he calls The Eternal News by J.J. Hill, published in Scotland. The other one is a few articles of his own works that were published in the Nautilus magazine. Okay? Now, the Nautilus magazine, this is going to be kind of interesting here. Let me open up my... so I switched to Manjaro Linux. I got off Windows. I switched to Manjaro because it was just, I was celebrating finishing my school course, and it's been a while since I've used Linux installed on my native bare metal machine, and I missed it. I missed it. Now, this is the first time I've tried an Arch-based Linux distribution, and Manjaro was a great choice. I love the community so far, and it's just a great experience. Had to do some troubleshooting over the past couple days to get OBS working, and I don't really like the way it interfaces with my graphics card, etc., so on and so forth. So I might need to make some tweaks to my hardware. But so anyway, Wallace Wattles mentions a series of articles he wrote in the Nautilus magazine called "What is Truth?" And I want to, let's see here. Oh, I think I saved it on the other browser. Hang on. I found. So anyway, long story short, he says the Eternal News. You ought to read the Eternal News by J.J. Hill, and you ought to read a series of articles he wrote for the Nautilus called "What Is Truth," and let's see here. All right, here are my other bookmarks from Manjaro. Let's see here. The bookmarks. R.S. Reeds, Project Gutenberg. Yes, that's there. Okay, the New Thought Movement. This is what I want to open up here. I found some very entertaining things. So, Wallace Wattles is referred to as being part of the New Thought Movement. And I wanted to know a little bit about that, so I found a Wikipedia article about it. But, let's see here. I want this in a different tab. Come on now. Alright, so, long story short, I was able to find both sources. One of them, the Eternal News by J.J. Hill, was published in, the late 1800s, I want to say. The Eternal News, it's J.J. Brown, not J.J. Hill. Is it J.J. Brown? Why can't I find this now? Anyway, long story short, wherever it was, I managed to find a listing of the copy. Let me pull it up real quick because it's cool. Yes, I need to pull up my other email account. Oh, it's okay. We'll figure it out. Anyway, long story short, the National Library of Scotland, I believe is what it's called. I managed to chat with a librarian over there, and apparently they have a copy of this Eternal News thing by J.J. Brown. So, let's see here, catalogs, National Library of Scotland, library search. They had a copy. Let's see if I can find it here. Anyway, I want to find out what year it was published. It's pulling up now. Yes, here it is. The Eternal News. It's a book. It says it's a book. Published in 1889. The Eternal News concerning time and space, substance, motion, and shapes. The entire total of all being or existence. Okay, so I found Bound with Miscellaneous Pamphlets by J.J. Brown, etc., etc. It's 80 pages is all. And it's going to be interesting because I messaged the librarian and I said, hey, can you, they said that they could digitize this. They said they could digitize it for me. And they said they would send me a quote of the digitization, for the digitization. So anyway, and now the other thing that Wallace talked about in the book was the what is truth in the Nautilus magazine. Now I found a website called the International Association for the Preservation of Spiritualist and Occult Periodicals. Now, how can you not, with a title like that, become immensely curious as to what they have in their list of goodies here? But anyway, they have a complete catalog, or it seems to be complete, of the Nautilus magazine. And I was able to find I was able to find the articles I wanted called "What is Truth" from Wallace Wattles, as well as I think I was able to find the obituary. I found an obituary for Wallace, died in 1911. But I want to study Elizabeth Towne, who is the one that really drove the publication of this magazine here. Anyway, it's just interesting. I was able to find and track down, thanks to this society and their preservation, and also to the National Library of Scotland, I was able to find both of those sources that Wallace mentioned in his book, that Wattles mentioned, and I was really excited about that. So, sorry. Gee, man. So hopefully they get back to me with that quote ASAP. And now Tiana says that I can't spend money on my ridiculous ventures and hobbies. So I'm going to need to go harass my friends and find sponsors to sponsor my strange hobbies, you see. Now, speaking of strange hobbies, I've come up with a realistic diet, okay? I've talked about Dr. Goldner and the smoothie shred and all of this. And that's all fine and dandy. I like it a lot. But I'm also going to mix in whole grains and legumes, like and I'm going to follow this diet until June 1st. But to be realistic, when I say follow this diet, you know how if you have a Kleenex in hand, you most likely will not need to use it, right? Well, it's similar for my plan to help me stick with my diet. I'm going to allow myself cheat meal credits. Okay, and I get 1 per week, but I start with 10. I start with a balance of 10 and add 1 per week. Okay, this will satisfy my need to not feel claustrophobic with this goal. Gives me room to breathe, and it gives me some flexibility. So it'll be good for me psychologically. And again, maybe I won't use the cheat meal credits, but they're there. If there's a family gathering or I need to go to a business lunch or something, then I can take a cheat meal credit without, feeling guilty because it's part of the plan, right? So I'm pretty excited about that. Starting today, I'm going to follow this diet. And again, the diet is try to have 32 ounces a day of, or is it 64, 2-quart jars, whatever that is, 2 quarts of cruciferous vegetable smoothie. Now, what I've been doing, and it's very gross, is just blending up straight chopped kale And then add in a half a cup of flax seeds for the healthy fats, and then throw whatever fruit in that you would like. So I found like a 1 pound bag of chopped kale at my local grocery store that's like $3.50. And that obviously lasts me a little bit more than a day. It takes about, a half to 3/4 of a pound to fill up my blender. And then I throw in 2 bananas, a half a cup of flaxseed, and some ice and things. And it's it's an adventure. Anyway, my bitrate keeps suffering on stream. We'll see if this works. Again, I am streaming from my Manjaro as my desktop environment, so my settings might be messed up or misconfigured or something of that sort. Anyway, so you drink that smoothie, and then again I am adding in whole grains and beans, legumes, etc. Maybe some barley and some whole oat groats in the Instant Pot or whatever. Maybe I'll call it my gladiator or racehorse diet or something, because racehorses operate exceptionally efficiently and they just are on oats. So maybe it's the racehorse diet. But I also need to drink at least a gallon of water every day. So it's a tall order. I'm also going to wake up at 5 a.m., which really sucks because last night I hardly got any sleep at all because our 6-month-old was in very high maintenance mode. So, but I did successfully wake up at like 4:55 and then hit snooze for 10 minutes. Woke up at 5:05. I did go to the gym. Planet Fitness, the people's gym. Yes, I went to Planet Fitness. I've talked about Little Caesars, which is People's Pizza, and I also go to Planet Fitness, which is the people's gym. I had a funny idea to do a video that's like basically, is it even possible to make a pizza for as inexpensively as you can buy one from Little Caesars? Just purely looking at the ingredients, not considering time or any other concepts. And we'll see. I might do it. I might not. It would sure be funny though. It'd be really funny. Anyway, so that's the diet, and those are the goals that I'm implementing again, and I'm pretty optimistic about it. It was kind of fun. I have picked Ambi as my accountability partner, my buddy Ambi. So I'll harass him every morning when I get up at 5 a.m. And then at the gym this morning, because I used to go in the evening a couple times, and going this morning, I knew someone else that was at the gym, my buddy Chris. And it was kind of funny. I walked in, he's like, "Hey, Spencer." I'm like, "Do you come here in the mornings?" He's like, "Yeah, I do." So now Chris is my accountability partner now too. My box of Kleenexes go. I put my Calvin and Hobbes collection here in my office, as well as my Galaga arcade cabinet replica, little tiny box. So, Calvin and Hobbes is arguably the greatest piece of media. I read a bunch of Calvin and Hobbes to my 6-year-old over the weekend, and he loved it, and that made me very happy because Calvin himself is 6, and there's many times what my 6-year-old does reminds me of what Calvin does. Anyway, so look at this Nautilus. Take a look. So thank goodness that the International Association for the Preservation of Spiritualist and Occult Periodicals, or IPSOP, I'm going to call them IPSOP. Thank goodness they do this. What a service. Here's the Nautilus from 1909, April 1909, and this is one that has their advertisements in here are just freaking hilarious. This one says, "Don't be a wage slave. Make $3,000 to $5,000 a year. Be a doctor of mechanotherapy." Are you tired of working for wages which barely keep body and soul together? Have you the ambition to enjoy the profits of your own labor, to gain social prominence and financial independence, to go forth among your fellow men with your head up, an honored and respected citizen of your locality? Then send for our free book entitled "How to Become a Mechanotherapist." Oh, it kills me, man. I love it. It's so funny. It's not altogether different from, ads we see today. What is mechanotherapy? Mechanotherapy is the art or science of treating disease without drugs. It is similar to osteopathy. Is that osteopathy or is it osteopathy? I've never known. I think it's osteopathy. But far superior, being the latest up-to-date method of treating disease by the natural method. It heals as nature heals in accordance with nature's laws. The mechanotherapist is a drugless physician and a bloodless surgeon. His medicines are not drugs, but scientific combinations of food, circumstance, idea, water, and motion. The mechanotherapist is skilled in compelling the body to do its own healing with its own force, rather than with poisonous drugs of the old school practitioner. Interesting. Too bad I can't order this book, How to Become a Mechanotherapist. Anyway, scrolling past this ad. This is an interesting page. It's in every publication of this magazine. On the left, it shows the New Thought Center locations, which are anywhere from Aspen, Colorado, Boston, Massachusetts, Brunswick, Battle Creek, Michigan, Chicago, Christchurch, New Zealand, Denver, Fresno, Helena, Kingston, Jamaica, London, Los Angeles, Melbourne, New York City, Oakland, Pittsburgh, Portland, Providence, Richmond, Spokane, St. Louis, St. Paul, San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, Spring Valley, Sydney, Toledo, Toronto, Washington. Where's this? So we're in Massachusetts again. Winnipeg, Wimbledon, Youngstown. Anyway, interesting. And then on the right, it shows a column of the list of books by Elizabethtown. Practical methods for self-development, spiritual, mental, physical. I would love to read that on the RealityStretch Reads podcast. That'd be fun. The Life Power and How to Use It. Joy Philosophy. You and Your Forces, or the Constitution of Man. How to Grow Success. Experiences in Self-Healing, Happiness and Marriage. Just How to Wake the Solar Plexus. Just How to Concentrate. How to Train Children and Parents. Just How to Cook Meals Without Meat. Is she a vegetarian? And it moves forward, so on and so forth. What an intrepid subject. All right. This guy is another ad here, quarter-page ad. The new method of drugless healing. And you read through, and it says, don't slave for others. Learn the Howard system of psychological adjustment. It is positively the most advanced and scientific method of drugless healing. Study at home or in class. Easily comprehended by anyone of ordinary education. Start on the road to success today by sending for our free book, How to learn chiropractic. Diplomas granted, conducted under state charter, the National School of Chiropractic, West Congress Street, Chicago, Illinois. Huh. Isn't that funny? The letters to the editor. Alright. The Nautilus. Finally, table of contents. We're already to page 5 or whatever at this point. Finally. So, What is Truth by Wallace Wattles on page 14. Let's go take a look. Page 14. What is truth? A balloon goes up, a stone falls to the earth. Why? One force in nature, gravity. Can space have boundaries? By Wallace D. Wattles. Section 1. Time. The science of theology and medicine are necessarily very, very closely allied, both having to do with the saving of men from the consequences of wrong living. And it follows that in religion and medicine we are always seeking for realities, searching the truth, seeking the ultimate spiritual, physical facts upon which to base our theories, from which to proceed in making our demonstrations of health and wholeness. Anyway, I shall read this as soon as I'm done with, oh my gosh, just yawning like a Yahoo. As soon as I'm done with this Science of Getting Rich audiobook, I will read the What is Truth publications, articles written by Wallace Wattles, and I will as well read his obituary. And then, depending on how much the National Library of Scotland quotes me, I'll have to go shake down one of my friends or family members and have them sponsor this effort to have the thing digitized. I just think that's the coolest thing. I was just chatting with a librarian in Scotland on Saturday. I just think that's so cool. That's so cool. It made me happy. Anyway, so what the crap is the New Thought movement? The New Thought movement, also Higher Thought, is a spiritual movement that coalesced in the United States. This is from the Wikipedia article for the New Thought movement. The New Thought movement, okay, I just read that. New Thought was seen by its adherents as succeeding ancient thought, accumulated wisdom and philosophy from a variety of origins, such as ancient Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Chinese, Taoist, Vedic, Hindu, and Buddhist cultures, and their related belief systems, primarily regarding the interaction between thought, belief, consciousness, and the human mind, and the effects of these within and beyond the human mind. Though no direct line of transmission is traceable, many adherents to the New Thought in the 19th and 20th centuries claim to be direct descendants from those systems. Although there have been many leaders and various offshoots for the New Thought philosophy, the origins of New Thought have often been traced back to Phineas Quimby or even as far back as Franz Mesmer. Who is that? Should I know who that is? Many of these groups are incorporated into the International New Thought Alliance. The contemporary New Thought movement is a loosely allied group of religious denominations, authors, philosophers, and individuals who share a set of beliefs concerning metaphysics, positive thinking, the law of attraction, healing, life force, creative visualization, and personal power. New Thought holds that infinite intelligence, or God, is everywhere. Spirit is the totality of real things, true humans. Selfhood is divine. Divine thought is a force for good. Sickness originates in the mind, and right thinking has a healing effect. Although New Thought is neither monolithic nor doctrinaire, in general, modern-day adherents of New Thought share some core beliefs. God is infinite intelligent. God or infinite intelligence is supreme, universal, and everlasting. Divinity dwells within each person. that all people are spiritual beings. The highest spiritual principle is loving one another unconditionally and teaching and healing one another, and our mental states are carried forward into manifestation and become our experience in daily living. William James used the term New Thought as synonymous with the mind cure movement, in which he included many sects with diverse origins, such as idealism and Hinduism. Lots to be read here. There's the history, the origins, the growth, major gatherings, beliefs, evolution of thought, theological inclusionism, therapeutic ideas, criticism. The criticism section is of particular humor. That's like the one section that I've already read of this article. Anyway. In general, the critique is like there's a lot of emphasis on positive thinking to get your way, to that ailments and maladies are a result of thinking in a certain way, rather, and not paying homage to the scientifically manifested ways that one contracts an illness and that sort of thing. The criticism is that this movement disregards those scientific causations in a sense, which I get the criticism. My wife and I have had those discussions ourselves as well. But anyway, a while ago, Eric Weinstein, however you say his name, the brother of Brett Weinstein, I think years ago he coined a term, the intellectual dark web, and placed people in it such as himself and Sam Harris and I think Jordan Peterson and I want to say Elon Musk and a few others. But the point was he coined that phrase, the intellectual dark web. Now, it's not my scene. I am not the caliber of the type of individuals perhaps within that circle, but I submit that what I'm trying to do with RealityStretch is a renaissance of the original New Thought movement as originally depicted. So, not its contemporary iteration, but I would like to think that what I'm doing with RealityStretch, I've found a home in the idea that I am a renaissance of the New Thought movement as conceptualized and instantiated in the early 1900s. I would like to say they are my peers, if I may. It's kind of funny. A few months ago, I started writing. I had a funny thought. Sometimes I just have random jokes or like something that would be really funny as a stand-up comedy routine. I just have it come into my mind, and I just have to sit down and write out the jokes because it's so funny. And I had an idea to pull, it's not really a con. After all, what's the difference between a con and marketing if you really put your mind to it? A positive person would say something's marketing, and a negative person would say something's a con. But anyway, I had this funny idea that what if I set up like this curtain backdrop and a spotlight and make a little stage and like a stand-up mic and point a camera at that and make it look like a dry bar comedy stage or a comedy club, and then I stand up there and I just tell stupid jokes and put in like a laugh track. Put in a laugh track and applause and make it seem like I have an audience, and maybe post up on this on a YouTube channel with like a fake comedy club with some virtual address. It's got to be in a state or in a location that people are not going to show up at to verify, like Helena, Montana or something stupid. Or maybe just say it's like the traveling comedy road show, so it's even harder to trace. Like, say I held it in some hotel or something. That'd be so funny. But anyway, I did have an idea, and I called it like Jokes for the Dead. And I was talking about how the dead do not have representation, and they really ought to have representation because they are a voting bloc after all. I mean, we've all heard the stories of dead people voting in elections and such. So I had this thought, and I was playing off of it and developing it, and it was really funny. I was laughing, I was cracking myself up. But on a more serious note, what I'm trying to do with RealityStretch is, hey, if with the RealityStretch Reads podcast, and with what I talk about here as like the renaissance of the original New Thought movement, and what that means, and what we think we create, what we focus on, we get more of, manifestation, the law of attraction, all of that. The Secret by Rhonda Byron, or however you say her name, was inspired by these works. Anyway, there's something to be said for the fact that these ideas, I have the opportunity to perpetuate these ideas and carry them forward. I'm turning 30 years old this year. My peers are often more concerned with pleasure and recreation and just surviving from one day to the next. But apparently I've been blessed with some sort of gift to be, to a fault, very interested in not so much history in the sense of timelines and events, but more so the legacy of the deceased. So in a way, I'd like to say I'm self-appointed to represent the certain groups of dead. So anyway, maybe they're the ones that are saying, hey, check this out, I wrote this many years ago and the principles are still applicable today, so go find them and write them. I don't know, but it's a nice thought anyway. The New Thought movement. So to recap today, I yawned like 50 times. I'm still committed to doing this live stream every single day and then re-uploading it as a podcast. But my hope is to make it more interesting, for a hypothetical audience. And maybe this is the other thing that I would have put in like a comedy special called Jokes for the Dead. Like, I'll write one. I don't know if I have a talent in delivering. I have zero experience and practice in delivering comedic content, but maybe I can just write it and hand it off to someone who does. But I mean, it's probably not even original because I don't consume a lot of comedy, and so it's probably not even original. But the concept is, as the comic for the dead, then it kind of speaks. It's kind of poetic that my idea to create like a fake comedy club, I could set up like a whole bunch of empty seats, and it just adds value to the fact that I'm representing the dead and my jokes are for the dead. It also, part of that would be being able to claim, of course, that every show is completely sold out and packed because all the empty chairs are occupied by deceased people. So, and then if no one laughs at the jokes because they're not funny, I could just respond with like, hey, what a great reception when there's just silence. So if you claim you represent the dead, then you can pretty much claim any sort of success that you would want. And at the end of the day, if I laugh about it, then it's served its purpose for me. So maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll create like a fake comedy club. So anyway, yeah, we talked about the exercise, the diet, the healthy living, the morning routine, waking up at 5 a.m. and poking my eyes out. I might need to supplement and augment with lots of high doses of caffeine over the next few days to help me get into the pattern and the rhythm of it. Working out every morning, weird diet with cheat meal credits, and then of course, the New Thought movement, Wallace Wattles, and the International Association for the Preservation of Spiritualist and Occult Periodicals. There you go. Covered a lot of ground. But this is the renaissance of the New Thought movement. That's what RealityStretch is all about. Stretch your reality to meet your vision, rather than scaling your reality to fit. Scaling your vision to fit your perceived reality. More to say on this, but I'm going to end it here. It's getting late.